is transforming, and we're going to be looking at the soul. What is the soul? Well, I think the best way for me to talk about this is that you and I all have an inner world and an outer world. The outer world is the me that I project to others. It's my reputation. It's what I do. Many of us in this day and age will understand that through the lens of social media even, what picture we present to the world around us. And how many know we don't do the one with our eyes closed? And we don't present the picture that our hair is out of place or something's not right. We present something to the world around us. And most people try to change their inner world by improving their outer world, but it never works. The inner world, that internal world or private world that we have, is where my secret thoughts and hopes live. And because the inner life is invisible, it is easy to neglect. So I want us to not neglect the inner world today as we look at it. And Jesus addresses the absolute priority of the inner world. In Mark chapter 8, Jesus is speaking, and he says, then calling the crowd to his disciples, he said, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must turn from your selfish ways. Take up your cross and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you'll gain. Think about this. If you give up your life for my sake, Jesus is saying it to you. Turn to the person next to you and say, he's making this personal. And if you give up your life for my sake and for the sake of the good news, you will what? Save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? This is interesting because Jesus is talking and he uses the word soul, and soul kind of takes on a different ramification throughout Scripture. Soul, spirit are interloped sometimes. Soul with the heart, the mind, and the will, it's all wrapped up in that. But Jesus is not talking about a destination. He's not talking about hell, like what does it profit you if you just gain hell in the end down the road? Jesus is actually talking about the condition or a diagnosis of your own soul. What does it profit you to go do all those other things while internally things are falling apart? While internally you don't have what God can give to you. He's talking about the state of your soul. Every year at the beginning of the year in Washington, D.C., both houses of Congress come together and the president gives what's known as the State of the Union address. And basically the president's role is to talk about all the facets of how we're doing. Now it's become so politicized that nobody listens to each other anymore, but the whole point is to be able to say, hey, this is where we're at. You need a State of the Union of your soul. To be able to look at and say, what's going on? Where am I at? In the busyness, in the chaos, in the rat race of life that I'm in, how is my soul doing? It's a soul check time, if you will. We are complex people, and I've talked about this each week, where God has made us with important components. But today I want you to consider like a car that has an engine and electrical systems and a steering wheel, you and I have multiple parts of who we are. In week number 1, I talked about what we have in terms of concentric circles. And so I had 3 circles that I put on the board, and the spirit was at the center, the soul in the middle, and then the body, and how they are all connected to each other. Today, I want you to consider it through maybe a different lens, same thing going on, but maybe a different type of diagram, and a Venn diagram. And so a Venn diagram here, and if you said body, soul, and spirit, we all are made up of these pieces, and it makes up who we are. Now, here's the interesting thing about what we're going to talk about today. The body, of course, it says in Genesis that God created our bodies, right? He created us out of the dust. So our body, God is a part of that. And we talked about it last week. It's important. But the body has all kinds of hunger pains, desires, urges, things that the body wants. right? And the body doesn't know what is good versus bad. So the body just has cravings, appetites for things, and it doesn't know the difference. It has to be controlled from somewhere else. If you only just follow your body, you're gonna be in trouble, right? It's not gonna do you well if you only follow your instinct and your urges. In fact, because of sin, many of the urges we're birthed with, if we don't have some form of control or direction or steering wheel, we'll just go out of control. We won't follow God's best for our lives. The other thing that you need to consider is that the body, one of the things that it's not disconnected from the other part of your life. I mean, think about this. If you don't eat all day long, and then you sit down with somebody that's confronting you with something, how patient are you? How many of you got hangry once in a while? It affects your emotions. It affects how you think. It affects the mind and the will. And this is the crossover from last week to this week, is that when you think about your body has an impact on the way you think. It has a huge impact on the way you think. Your appetites and all of those kind of things. And what you consume, it has an impact. If you were to get sick, and let's say you had a cold or the flu or COVID or something like that, and you are not feeling well, and you're laying down and you're talking like this because you're all stuffed up, and you can't, and somebody wants to have a conversation with you. How loving and empathetic are you? You're probably not too much. You're not thinking about others. You're just trying to survive yourself. So the body has an impact on other parts of who you are, okay? So it has a big impact. So the body and the soul are connected in this region, in the soul, okay? And of course, the eternal part of you is as well.